Hey, so welcome back. This is the end of 1.3. I'm going to go over how we can build a frequency table using Excel. And this will just be very basic, very straightforward. We're just going to build a frequency table. We will learn how to produce images from a frequency table and images from data in general, just not in section 1.3. So if you want to build a frequency table in Excel, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go grab your data. So here I have an example of building a frequency table embedded into our OneNote. It's not going to be a homework assignment like the simple random sample, but it will be useful in your homework because you're going to have a homework, like some homework problems with a lot of data in it. So this is a good tool to have. So what I've done is I've grabbed a bunch of data from my Open Math by just highlighting it and then copying it and then pasting it as text. So the idea is I want to get something that looks like this, right? Like I want to be able to build a frequency table, but right now I'm just here. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to rearrange my data. So frequency, I can't count frequency unless I have my data ordered. So these numbers here, they represent the ages of 100 employees that work at some San Bernardino office. So what I want to do is I want to do a frequency distribution based on age. I need to order my data, but if you go and you try to highlight an array of data in Excel, and let's say you go over to your data tab, which is where all the good sorting happens, and you want to sort from high to low, A to Z, you can do that, but notice that the data isn't actually sorted. It's only sorted by the first column. So the first column is the only thing that's in order from high to low, and everything else is kind of still random. So the way that I'm going to fix that is I'm going to highlight everything except for the first column. I'm going to copy it. So I go File. No, that's not correct. I go to Home. I'm going to actually Cut. So Cut is where you copy it, remove it, and then paste it somewhere else. If I just do copy and paste, I still have to go back and delete this. So I'm going to use Cut instead, and then I'm going to paste it right below. So I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to paste right here. You can also, if you're using a PC, you can use Control X, Control V. So again, I highlight everything but that first column. I'm going to select Cut, and then I'm going to go over here, right click and hit Paste. And I'm going to keep doing this until I only have one long line. So I'm going to use my shortcut keys, Control X, Control V, and then I'm just going to keep going. So so I'm getting there. This is a lot of data. The alternative is to count it by hand, which I assure you that the likelihood of making an error is very high. Okay. There are other tools in Excel that can help you do this. They just tend to be a bit more complicated, and so this is the most straightforward, although not most efficient way. Okay, so now we have all of our data in a straight line, and we can see that we ended up in the 100th position. So that tells us that we did it right. We knew that we had 100 pieces of data to start with. So now I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything all the way back up to the tippy top. And now that I have everything in a single column, what I can do is I can go over to my data tab and I can hit sort. So if I hit sort, it'll open up this kind of advanced sorting mechanism. If I'm just sorting one column, it's easiest just to hit A to Z or Z to A. I want it to go from youngest to oldest, so I'm going to go smallest to largest or A to Z. And once I do that, we'll see that at the very bottom, I ended up at 54. and it looks like it's heading in the right direction. And so then the youngest age is 32. So now I want to go ahead and create a frequency table. So if you want to create a frequency table, you know that you need your bins or your age range. And we're going to talk about this in a second. We're going to need our frequency. So right now I'm creating my headers for my table. I'm going to need my relative frequency. I'm going to need my cumulative frequency. And then maybe I'll just make this wider. I'm going to need my relative frequency. And I'm going to need my cumulative relative frequency. Okay, so let's talk about the age range. So our minimum age is 32. And if we scroll down to the bottom of our data, we can see that the maximum age is 54. So let's just look at this really quickly. So we've got, I'm going to make a little list over here. So we have our minimum age was 32. Our maximum age was 54. And so our age range is just going to be the min minus the max. So if I wanted to compute that in Excel instead of on a calculator, I would hit the equal sign. The equal sign always tells Excel, hey, I want you to compute something. If you just want to type in letters or numbers, that's fine. It just stores it there as text or numerical value. But if you want Excel to like execute an action for you, that's going to involve an equal sign. So the range is going to be your max age, which is 54. So I click on that cell and it says, hey, Excel, look here in this cell. And then I'm not going to touch anything else. I hit the minus for subtraction. And then I'm going to select the minimum age here. So that tells me that my range of ages is 22. So that's the biggest age difference between youngest and oldest. So let's say I wanted to have, what did I want to have? I think I wanted to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I wanted to have 6 bins, right? So I wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you want to add a border to your table, you can go to Home, and then underneath the font and the font size, there's kind of like this grid looking thing, and it gives you a bunch of options for borders. So I'm just going to select all borders. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm like, okay, if I want 6 bins, how do I divide up this 22-year age difference into 6 bins? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of compute my bin size, and I'm going to say, or let's do this. I'm going to do number of bins, and then I'm going to do size of bins. So I know I want to have 6 bins. So the size of bins is I'm going to take my age difference, which was the range, which was 22. So again, I'm typing equals because I want Excel to execute something for me. I want it to compute something for me. So I type in equals to get that going. And then I say, hey, look at the range. So I click on that. And then I say, divide that. So that gets a /. Divide that by the number of bins. And so I'm going to click on 6, the number of bins. And then I'm going to hit enter. And so that's going to tell me that my bins should be 3.67. But I don't really want 3.67 as a bin size. That's kind of silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up to 4. If you want to go ahead and format this, you can. You can always format how something is displayed by right-clicking the cell and then going to format. So let's say I wanted this to be a number and I want it to be 2 decimals instead of as many as we see here. I can do that. I can change it to 1 decimal. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll do that again when we do our frequency, our relative frequency. So let's use 4. So we're going to round up to 4 for our bins. So if I have 4 years in each bin, so I'm 32, I'm 33, I'm 34, I'm 35. So that's 4 years. So my first bin is going to be 32 to 35. Then the second bin is going to start at 36, 37, 38, 39. And the next bin is going to be 40, 41, 42, 43. And then so on and so forth. So this should be there, and then this should be 48 to, did I do that right? 43, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 51. And then we're going to have 51, 2, 3, 4, 54. Okay, so now what we want to do is we just want to start counting. For us, everything is sorted. So I just do this. I go, okay, 32 to 35. So I have to include the 35. So that's going to be these guys. And just for visual cue, I'm going to highlight that. So how many do we have here? Right? Like I could count this, but I have Excel to count things for me. So a cool thing that Excel does is if you go into your frequency, you can type in equals sign. Again, I'm telling Excel, I want you to do something for me. I want you to compute something or look at something or whatever. So I type in equals, and then I'm going to type in the word count, C-O-U-N-T. And I open my parentheses. And once I open my parentheses, I don't click anywhere else. I click only on the first cell of my highlighted data. And then I hold down the shift key, or I could drag, actually do this, yeah. So let's go over that one more time. I type in equals C-O-U-N-T, open my parentheses, so that's a shift 9 for me. Then I move my mouse on top of the top cell that I want it to count, and I click and drag down. So don't release the mouse until you've gotten down to your bottom guy. I release my mouse and then I click enter. Boom. And I got 21. So let's try that again with the next selection. So now I'm looking at 36 to 39. So I want to go and highlight, just for my own visual cue, my 36 to 39-year-olds. So I'm going to highlight that with a different color. We can do green, I guess. So now when I go to this one, I'm going to say equals C-O-U-N-T, open my parentheses with a shift 9. I'm not clicking anything. I haven't touched anything. I'm simply moving my mouse over the 36, click and hold, and then drag down until I get to the bottom of the selection for my age range. Release the mouse, press enter, and look, we have 38. Perfect. So let's repeat the same process. We're going to do 40 to 43. So 40 to 43 is here. You don't have to highlight. I just like it because it helps me know where I'm supposed to start and stop. So we'll do 2. Okay, so that's 40 to 43. So now for here, I'm going to go equals C-O-U-N-T, open my parentheses, scroll, click and hold on the 40, drag all the way down, release my mouse, hit enter. I'm going to do the same thing from 40 to 47. So my 40 to 47-year-olds are here. What colors have we not used? Okay, I guess we can do that one. And then my last, so we did 40 to 47, and then we're supposed to do 48, 49, 50, 51. Okay, so then I'll have 50 to 51, and then I'll have 54. Okay, cool. So where were we? We are 40 to 47, so this is going to be equals C-O-U-N-T, open your parentheses, don't click anything. Just scroll down to your 44s. click and hold, drag all the way down till you get to your 47 and then hit enter. So there we are. And then we're gonna do the same thing with 48 to 51. So 48 to 51. We didn't have any 48-year-olds. So we're starting our selection at 49, but such is life. I don't really have to count the last guy. There's just one. I could have done the same with the second to last. So now I have one here. The next thing I want to do is compute my cumulative frequency. So remember that this is going to be this number plus all the numbers above it. So what happens here is the first guy, you just say equals whatever number you got here, equals 21. Click it. So you should have, wherever your table is, it should kind of reference back to where it is. You may have your table in a slightly different place. So you might not be seeing equals D3. You might have equals E4, or you might have equals C2. It just depends. So go ahead and click enter there. And now what I want to do is remember that I want to add these two guys together. Remember, I'm adding these two together, and that's going to go right here. So the way that I tell Excel to do that is I say, okay, take you, and then I'm going to shift so I get a plus sign, and then I'm also going to select the other orange guy and take you. And then I'm going to hit enter. And rather than doing that for every single one, Excel has this cool thing. So now that you're at your 59, what you can do is you can just double click. And then that copies the pattern all the way down. And this is why Excel is so useful. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but this is one that's pretty cool. Notice that our cumulative frequency ended up at 100, which is what we needed because our total here is 100. So if you want to check your total, you can write sum, S-U-M, open your parentheses, click, hold, and drag your entire selection and hit enter. So there we are. So that was 100. So let's do relative frequency. So we are going to do, remember it's this number divided by this number, right? So the idea is that we want to say, okay, this equals 21. And I don't care that the number's 21, I care where it is, or Excel cares where it is. So make sure instead of just typing 21, actually click the cell because that gives the location. And as the data changes, you don't need to go back and recompute everything. So you're gonna hit equals, select your first frequency, then you hit the / to divide. And then what you want to do is you want to click your total. So now I have, for me, it's D3 over D10. It's going to depend on where you put your table, but you should have these two numbers in a ratio. But notice something here. Oopsies, sorry. Equals that guy over that guy. Now I'm going to hit enter. So I get 0.21 as my relative frequency. I could go ahead and just click down to have it fill out. But something happened. I got a warning that I'm dividing by 0, which not even Excel likes that. No one likes that. Don't do that. So notice when I click on another cell where I get the error, instead of dividing by D10, I'm dividing by D11. Well, D11 is right here. When I go to the next cell down, I'm dividing by D12. Now I'm dividing by D13. Now I'm dividing by D14 and D15. So even though I want the top number in my ratio to go down, I want it to do it for each row, I don't want my 100 to change because it's always going to be over that 100. So the way that I do that, the way that I fix that is I actually put this in $signs. So it's $D, $10. And what that does is it tells Excel, hey, don't move from this spot. This is a static spot, always keep this. So now when I do that and I try to get Excel to populate, success. So now every single one is still calling on D10, D1, right? So when you click in the formula bar, it'll tell you exactly where it's looking. So it's looking here and here. If I click on my 0.14, and I click in the formula bar, it's telling me it's looking at 14 and 100. So this is exactly what I want. All right. Lastly, we're going to do the cumulative relative frequency. So this is really similar to the cumulative frequency. So I want this guy as my first one. Cool. And then as my second one, I want the next entry plus the entry above, right? So these are the two things we want to add together. I select enter. And then from that second box that I created, I just go double click. Now I want to say if you double click when your cursor is the white plus sign, you're just going to go back into the formula. If you select the box and then hover to the bottom right corner, you can double click when you're the black plus sign. So now that I'm the black plus sign, I double click and look at that. So now my cumulative relative frequency sums to 1, which is exactly what I wanted. And again, just to double check, if I took the sum equals sum, SUM, open paren, and highlight all this, I'm gonna get 1 also. So Excel does a good job of not rounding, so you shouldn't really get any rounding errors here. Even if it displays rounded, it won't sum with the rounded values. So that was creating a frequency table in Excel. I know that's a lot. You'll get used to it, I promise. Good luck, and email me with any questions.